Hey Narwhals, and welcome back to some more weight loss stories. Only a small percentage of our viewers actually subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later, so please tap subscribe to join the original 200k Narwhals. If food used to be your treat or reward, what did you replace it with? I'm currently beating my junk food addiction, hooray, and losing weight, but I feel a bit empty sometimes, like there's a hole in my life. Before, I would use food as a treat, reward, and a punctuation mark. If I did well that day, I could have a takeaway. If I had a terrible day, I could have a takeaway. If it was the weekend, time to celebrate with the takeaway. Also, snacks and ready meals. I wouldn't feel like I could progress to the next part of the day unless I had eaten, even if I wasn't hungry. Especially work from home. I had little structure to my day, so I used food to create those markers. If I had a stressful day, I would gorge myself on whole bars of chocolate, 2 or 3 family-sized bags of crisps, things from the bakery, oven chips. There was a huge emotional connection to food. It was my friend when I was lonely, and my comfort when I was sad. It was also the thing I was always most excited for. I would go out with my friend, but be more excited about what we'd eat rather than what we would do. For birthdays, Christmas, it was all about the food rather than the quality time. I don't really know how I'm managing to not indulge in these behaviors now, and I worry when I can no longer work from home and I'm exhausted from commuting, I will start using food as my crutch, or when I'm more stressed again. So I would love to find some replacements for these behaviors, but things that have been suggested to me, like having a bubble bath, painting my nails, or knitting. Why does everyone suggest knitting nowadays, lol? Do not do it for me at all. They would not be an adequate replacement. What do you guys do instead? When you want to turn to food for a reason other than hunger, what do you do instead? Thanks in advance. Are you a reader? Because buying myself new books to read is the thing I do. I guess it depends on how often you are rewarding yourself, because it probably isn't something you want to do daily, but as a once in a while thing, it's great. And then just reading is a daily relaxing, enjoyable activity. I also buy myself plants, but that is a problem and I need to stop, lol. It reminds myself a little of quitting smoking. I used to say that a cigarette felt like a punctuation mark for the moment. Is sad, finish something difficult, I'm bored, a cigarette will help. And now, I really don't miss it at all, except at some odd moments, but I just don't buy and the moment passes. The problem with food is of course that you can't stop eating. I would say that as your eating habits change, your threshold for what a reward is will change. It's totally true that your taste changes as well, so one really nice cookie will be more satisfying than a whole pack of cheap cookies. For me, I just enjoy wandering through the beauty section at TJ Maxx, Target, or Anthropologie. I just bought a jade roller and it's lovely to use. I also keep terrariums and plants, so a new plant is a nice pick-me-up. I love cooking, so sometimes when I have a quiet weekend, I'll plan a long project, like bolognese that simmers for hours, or ribs. It really helps calm me down. The end result is also not a binge food. You can have ribs with a nice salad. Also, may be weird, but I do enjoy a deep clean of my apartment while listening to audiobooks or podcasts. The end result is so nice and I feel really productive. I find tea to be a nice treat myself thing. It's cozy and there are so many good flavors with no calories. I also buy shower steamers and will sometimes take an extra shower just because I love the warm water and aromatherapy of the shower steamers. I go online shopping, sometimes for elaborately expensive stuff. I almost never buy anything, but I'll put it in my Amazon cart or my wish list that no one else has access to, and tell myself I'm going to buy it later after I've done more comparisons. I do this while sitting on the couch before bed. It replaces the eating I used to do during the most challenging part of my day. It is still sometimes a challenge not to eat then, but if I tell myself, you've worked really hard today, you deserve a new patio set, it helps me feel like I'm being rewarded. I self-medicated with food for years. Eating was my only serotonin source, so I binge food every single day. For me, the replacement in the beginning was pretty much impossible. Nothing gave me the same rush of serotonin as eating. Nothing felt equally as good. What I had to learn is that the levels of serotonin that the food gave me, equally to medication, I was once self-medicating with those too, are not normally and mostly not achievable with other actions that aren't as addicting to me. So I just sat through it. It felt uncomfortable every single day, but I sat through those low levels of serotonin. The book Brain Over Binge by Katherine Hanson really helped me with that. After a while, I kept feeling better, and the smaller rushes of serotonin I got for things like talking to a good friend, learning something new, playing a game, going for a walk, listening to my favorite music, doing a fun dance workout, etc. Finally felt much more rewarding, and my brain started rewiring from the binging to other sources of serotonin. But it took time, a lot of it, and I really had to be patient and strong and dismiss every urge to overeat for a long time for my brain to change. And now I can find joy in other things than food. It came really naturally after that, but I still get urges to binge from time to time and had to dismiss them every time so they don't get stronger and as uncomfortable as they once were. I hope that helps a little. Wish you all the best. Games, movies, something with my dog. I'm a very frugal person at heart. I traded snacking for hobbies. If I'm crocheting or painting, I don't have the hands to eat with. However, I'm also spending money on painting and yarn, so I've had to spend a tremendous amount of time deciding what my budget for my new hobbies would be. It turns out I'd much rather spend a little more on stuff that works than keep letting myself snack, which also wasted money anyways. I've also found myself quite interested in research for particular things revolving around my hobbies, and ironically enough, food. It's just as satisfying emotionally to me to watch someone bake a gorgeous cake while I eat a salad than it would be for me to eat a crappy cheap store-bought cake while I watch something else. So, I'm the same way as you. A big thing for me would be to wait until I got to work to eat breakfast, because it would be a reason to want to be there. When I stopped eating breakfast, I found some low-calorie or zero-calorie drinks that I love. And most of the day, I only drink water, but when I first get to work, I do allow myself a cup of coffee and one of those low-calorie drinks that I love, so I still look forward to getting into my office. I love finding good new podcasts and audiobooks. I never let myself binge them. I use them as rewards. When I'm driving, I'll listen so that I look forward to my commute. When I get something done at work, I'll listen to a little bit of a really engaging podcast. I save good TV shows for when I go to the gym. I can only watch the next episode when I'm walking on the treadmill, which really gets me excited about going to the gym. The biggest thing is that if you withhold things you like, i.e. not binging shows or spending hours gaming or whatever it is, any of these things can become rewards, which in turn give the same pleasure response as food. Good luck. A bit silly, perhaps, but next to the stuff already mentioned, I bought myself a dog walking cart at my local shelter. I can't own a dog, but this way I could visit the shelter and walk and play with dogs whenever I wanted, and that quickly became my reward. I think it's hard to find an activity that replaces food cravings. Once you get it, no amount of knitting is going to make you stop thinking about it. I just approach it from a calorie perspective. I started moving more and trying to find lower calorie replacements for my sweet tooth. Have you tried switching to healthier treats like a protein bar, Fiber One snacks, or Fairlife protein drinks? I think the chocolate one is pretty good and can satisfy cravings pretty well. I also second the herbal tea or sparkling water in a wine glass. This is my trick to replace the wine habit. I also like making hot chocolate, but instead of the chocolate, I steep almond and oat milk with chai tea. It's yummy. I factor it into my calories for the day. That's really interesting and something I've been thinking about a lot. I've had variously a spending addiction. Not addiction, but high dependency from time to time on alcohol, and at the moment, I'm trying not to drink, and I'm finding myself eating because I got more stress than I can handle. I think rather than transferring to another addiction, what I'm going to try and do is two things. Firstly, as one commenter writes below, try and learn to sit with the frustration, upset, boredom, and stress until I can tolerate it better. And secondly, use a bit more self-talk to get through it. For example, I justify my need for a chocolate bar to get through the next chapter of the course I'm studying for. Truth be told, I don't need that chocolate bar. I just think I do. Because I've been telling myself for literally my whole life that I'm not enough and can't do stuff on my own, etc. I'm not talking empty platitudes or someone else's affirmations. I'm saying, why do I think that I can't do without it in that moment? Because actually, it's simply untrue. I'm going down this road because I don't want to struggle with it forever, and I think it's high time I stop telling myself lies, but I don't know if it will work. I would love to hear other people's experiences of such a thought change. But I will also say that exercise helps a bit with this because it's a cumulative, positive, self-esteem building exercise. Let me know how you go. Oh well, Ben & Jerry's or Coke used to be my reward, but I can buy a decent-sized plant or fresh flowers for the cost of Ben & Jerry's. Also, I treat myself to berries. Yes, it's food, but it's aligned with my goals. And now, because I'm not berry rich and I consider them a luxury, I also, before the pandemic and hopefully soon, treat myself to a walk to the botanic gardens or conservatory. The price of a Coke can often get some sort of treats from the dollar store. The dollar store near me always has random name brand makeup and skin finds. I like their seasonal section because I always wanted to be that kind of person that decorated for the seasons, until I grew up and realized it was expensive. I also consider it a treat to take a nice, long bath. You can find bath bombs at the dollar store too. I bought myself a tub tray so I can set a drink, my phone, and a towel on it and listen to a meditation, a podcast, or an audiobook. And that brings us to the end, Narwhals. Please tap subscribe to join the original 200k Narwhals. And lastly, here's our featured Narwhal of the day. First, progress pics.